Welcome to Madison's Real Estate, and this is Lisa Tremolata, and welcome to our video series with industry experts and their top tips. Today's industry expert is Patrick Bright. Patrick is from EPS Property Search in Neutral Bay. Patrick's one of the leading buyers agents in Sydney and the Lower North Shore, and Patrick also specialises in property management. And today Patrick is going to share with us his top tips in property management.
Hi, thank you, Lisa. Well, I've brought along my list of notes to make sure I run through all the good points there when selecting a property manager and what you should get from your property manager. First thing I would say is an experienced property manager. It sounds obvious, but a lot of people aren't very experienced in property management, not reliant solely on one person. So there are a lot of boutique agencies out there running property management. Boutique is good, but micro boutique, not so good. If you've only got one property manager there and something goes wrong, or they're off sick, or they're away, or they leave, there's no continuity of information passing, and history of what's going on with the property, the management, the owners, the tenant is pretty important. So having at least two property managers in an office would be pretty important to pick. The same goes through with the big ones. So you can go the other way. When they get too big, then people get lost and your management can be just a number. So, you know, from my experiences, you know, having somewhere between 2 to 6 property managers for an agency is probably a good number. So you've got some personalised service, they know who you are, but your information isn't historically lost if one person leaves. Regular rent reviews, very important that that's done. I'll give you a quick story. Actually, it was only a couple of weeks ago. We just bought a property down in Cremorne Point for actually Milson Road, number 5 Milson Road. It's an apartment building. I won't give you the apartment number for privacy reasons, but it was at the building of number 5. That we purchased that property for 1.8 million. It's a 3-bedroom apartment, 2 bathrooms, knockout views of the harbour, of course you'd expect for that money, and 2 parking. I went in there with the agent. I said to the agent, "What's the property rented for?" And they said, "I don't know." Not real good to start with. So I asked the tenant who was there, and they said, "Oh, we're paying $750 a week." I nearly fell over. Because that property probably should have been around the $1,250, maybe $1,400 a week mark with that kind of value and view. I said to them, "How long have you been paying that?" They said, "Oh, about 4.5 years we've been here."
Wow.
Never had a rent review.
Wow.
4.5 years. In fact, I asked them, when was the last time the agent came by and property manager to inspect your apartment? They said, "We haven't seen them since we moved in."
How much money is that owner lost?
Well, you think about that. $750 when it should have been no less than $1,250. That's $500 a week. You're talking about $25,000 a year under rented. So that's a lot of money. And I think $750 even 4 years ago was cheap for that property. So be very careful that you're getting regular rent reviews and inspections, which leads me to the next point: inspections. Make sure your property manager is doing property inspections. The only way you're going to know is if they send you a copy of the inspection report that they actually did. So that's important to get that done and have them booked in. A great way to pick a property manager is to mystery shop them. I think that's great that people do that. The reason I got that idea was because it was happened to us. We had people who mystery shopped us. They turned around and said, "Oh, we'd like you to manage our property." I said, "Didn't you apply for to be a tenant?" And they said, "Yeah, well, we're just checking out what you were like."
Great idea.
So I think that's a great idea.
How they treat tenants is,
Yeah, so these people actually, we've had a few clients do, or property owners do that to us over the years, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah,
I think if we haven't earned the business, then we shouldn't have it.
Definitely.
But these guys, went through the whole process. So if they treat your tenants well, they're going to treat your property just as well. So it's important to have a relationship. It's not all about respecting the landlord and not worrying about the tenant. There's a lot of professional people that rent, and we've found out over the years too that a lot of our tenants have investment properties because they're just choosing to rent because it suits their lifestyle at that time. And we've picked up managements from when we found that out, we wrote to our tenants and said, "Does anyone have a management you'd like us to look after?" And we've actually picked up business from that. So is your property manager an investor? This isn't critical. I think it's important though. Find out if the property manager who's looking after your property actually owns property as well and rents it out, because that way they'll have a bit of empathy with you and a bit more detailed understanding of what is required and what you expect. I think that's a good thing to have. They'll have a much more understanding. Financial reporting, they should be able to give you financial reports monthly or annually, whatever you prefer. Some owners want monthly, some just prefer it quarterly, some annually. So make sure that they're prepared to give you the information when you need it. And Can they assist with renovation? Look, a bit unique in that we do that. Not everybody does. It's not critical, but if you want to add value to a property, it's good to have a property manager that actually does renovations. We do a lot of project management renovations. Give you an example, we just did a one-bedroom apartment up for a client, spent $50,000 gutting it, doing it all up. The rent on it was before we got the property, so it was a new management as well. We went and had a look at it, said to the owner, you know, really we could do a renovation on this. They were only getting $350 a week rent. We did on this one better. This was in Kirribilli. We renovated it, spent, as I said, $50,000. We got the rent up to $520 a week.
Wow.
You think about that from an investment point of view, that's an extra, you know, let's just say $150 a week. It's a bit more than that, but let's say $150 a week. That's $7,500 a year. $50,000 outlay. If you borrowed that $50,000 at 7%, that's $3,500 a year in interest. Yet you're getting an extra $7,500 a year in rent. So you're $4,000 better off in cash flow,
value as well.
and the property's asset value's jumped by we know by more than $100,000 by doing that renovation. So they've added $50,000 in capital value, and they've increased their cash flow by about $4,000 a year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Really good idea to do that to your property. So if you're sitting out there with a property that's tired, worth having a look at renovating it, adding value, and increasing your rent return. I guess the other thing that people will talk about is fees. What do you pay a property manager? They vary. Some of them are quite flexible. You know, some of them will negotiate on fees just to get the business. You know, like anything, you get what you pay for. If you're choosing a sales agent to sell a property, or a buyer's agent to buy a property, or a property manager, you know, in any industry, you're going to get some flexibility. Just be careful that people who are happily to give away part of their income would probably be just as happy to give away part of yours if it's renting a property out. As one owner said to me, we recently got a new management in Camaray. He was renting that property out for $1,000 a week. We looked at it, and he wasn't happy with his property manager, called us in. He hadn't given it to us at this point. I said, look, I think we could get, myself and my property manager looked at it and said, we think we could get $1,100 a week for you, not knowing that he just rented it for $1,000. And he said, really? He said, I've only been renting it for $1,000. I said, well, I reckon we could. If we can't, I'll hand you the management. Not worry about taking the management on. He said, all right, I'll give you a go. So he gave it to us, and we did. Now, he turned around and said to me, Pat, I was paying the other property manager 6% of the rent collected. I'm paying you 7%. He said, but it's an extra $10 to you overall on the 1,000 on the 11. But I said, I've got $90 a week more in my pocket. So he said, I'm happy to give you a little extra, but I've got $90 more than the other one.
Pay for. Absolutely.
So you're going to get what you pay for in any industry, and that's important
Just
to
get the right
have.
person.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the right point there, Lisa. Pick the person that you're most comfortable with. You think that they're going to do a good job and care about your property and manage it. That would be the number one thing for picking a property manager. Someone you're comfortable with, and by referral is a good way to go too.
Yeah.
So that's my tips with selecting a property manager and making sure your property is well looked after.
Fantastic. And Patrick's written 3 books on real estate, so Patrick knows a lot about real estate. Yeah. So what's the best way to contact you?
Best way to get in touch with us is probably through our website. It's www.epspropertysearch.com.au, or you can give us a call. The buying agent phone number is 9904 4722, and our property management department is 9904 4755.
And Patrick's books were bestsellers as well. Okay, thanks Patrick, really appreciate it.